Good morning. I've come to sit in my lounge, and who knows, maybe I won't even post this. It's just like online journal of sorts sometimes. But following on from the dream I had the other evening about having to jump into this, or not having to, choosing to jump into this very deep pool, which then ended up being far deeper and far more of a experience than I had anticipated. That theme seemed to continue last night, and I feel like it's a very strange transition period. There's a lot. I remember this time last year having very similar dreams, all about deep water and change, and there was people in my dreams that have passed on, people that I've lost, although no one's ever lost, but they're not in this realm, in the physical realm. And again, last night it was the same feeling. Everything felt dark, but not oppressive dark, just dark, like it was nighttime. And lots of people were trying to cling to me and keep me in the same place, because they liked the way that it all fit together and the way it operated with me being that version of myself and participating in the things that I've done to this point, I suppose. But there was this really strange feeling in me of like disconnecting, and realizing that I know this is something that I speak about all the time. Spirit tends to take me to a place. I do things with people. There's divine appointments, there's connections, there's things that trigger something for them, something for me. Something happens, I guess like a flower blossoms, and then that seed from that flower, I move on. And I'll move on to something else. And it's not because I'm rejecting that experience. It's very much a part of the path. There was a vision once that I was given by a beautiful old couple who are no longer with us. And they said, Rebecca, you're like a poppy seed. You're just going to go where the wind blows, and poppy seeds are going to come up wherever you land, but you're never going to stay in the same place for very long. And this has literally been the experience of my life. And last night I was so aware that it's another transitional pivot, shall we say. And as much as I knew it was coming, and I didn't really want to go into these dark waters that I could see in front of me, I knew I'd outgrown so many spaces. And that's not to say better than, it's just the experience has an expiry date on it. And you've learnt and you've drawn from those lessons. And that sometimes means that we have to have that bravery to keep going and keep walking. Sometimes we just feel that pull, like that we've outgrown certain friendships or certain experiences or certain things that we're participating in, and it's time for something else. And I'm just thinking, actually, I saw today, because I've been kind of mixing and talking with a lot of the Sleep Token fans, and as Vessel's costume is changing, there's no need for the old costume in that sense. It served its time and a purpose, and it was connected to the music and the stories that were relevant then, but then it's almost like a representative of this is the new clothing, this is the new cloak, this is the new shoulder guard and new mask. And I was thinking a little bit about that, because there's some things in the pipeline in terms of the Sleep Token side of things. But in this dream, there was this real feeling of you really have to be at peace with who you are. Because ultimately, everything around you is almost like a hologram. I'm not saying people aren't real, But that hologram around you projects out that which you wish to experience. And sometimes your soul is saying it's time for a change, babe. So that your experience outside is changing, and there's a temptation to want to cling to that old chapter, that old experience, that old version of you, that old cloak, that old mask. When spirit might be saying it's time for something different now. And I'm so used to this happening that there is this surrender in me. But it's also not lonely, but it is an isolated way of living in some ways, many ways. Because I'm very aware, acutely aware, that not everyone can do that. I think people find it very painful, and rightly so, to let go of storylines about themselves even. Sometimes we're so wrapped up in a role, and we're so used to people acknowledging us for that role, that letting go and making any changes in ourselves will ultimately have an effect on how people view you. And that has been a consistent lesson, throughout life. But ultimately, I think if our soul is here to grow, and our soul is here with like a blueprint, we'll just feel it intuitively when it's time for these changes and these transformations to occur. And sometimes it can feel very celebratory and like, oh wow, because you can see it's like from an opportunity, or you can see that you've been given a stepladder, for example, and you're being promoted or something, and you know what that change is about. And then there's moments like this where I'm feeling the change from the inside out. It's in my belly, like there's change, and I'm so used to it, and I'm so just ready for it. But at the same time, it's very quiet. It's very behind the scenes change. And I was seeing there was resistance from other people for me to change. It wasn't coming from me. And I said to myself in the dream, because people kept like trying to recreate the same external situation and have me in the center of it, and I was like, no, I need to keep walking, and I've got to go through that murky dark water that I don't know what's on the other side of it, but I know that that's where I'm being called. And I said to myself, and this has happened before as well, I'm gonna have to move at night where they can't see me moving. I'm gonna have to go in the darkness to make my move, because if I try and move in the day, there's going to be resistance from external sources like, no, you're not allowed to change, or you're not allowed to move, you're not allowed to stop doing that with us. And cute as that is, I was like, my soul knows where it's going, and I need to just keep walking. But I don't share these stories just to talk about myself. I share them in the hope, and this is what happened at the end of this dream. Very loudly, Spirit said to me in my sleep last night, you're not here for you as Rebecca Knight to be acknowledged and recognised in the sense of the way the world thinks it's success. You're here to be acknowledged because you hold rooms of wisdom and knowledge within you that you need to walk through and open and open and open, so that others can find that wisdom in those rooms. And by you walking through those rooms and continuously moving, you opening the doors for other people to follow in your footsteps, so to speak. You're opening up by sharing what is possible for you is possible for others. And so therefore I know that I've come here with keys to unlock things by doing it myself, and then offering that opportunity to others by sharing my experience. And so if I was to stay in the same room, I wouldn't be complete in my job here. And so away we go. Let's see what comes next. Love you today. Keep moving.